It is the newly appointed senator out of the 15th, Darren Thorne, former delegate out of Hampshire County, and now we call him Senator Darren Thorne. Good morning, sir. Thanks for driving in.
Thank you, Rob, for having me over here. And it was an interesting ride over for sure, but we made it.
How were the roads?
Well, the back roads were definitely covered and a little slick.
Which way did you come in?
I come across 45, so off of 522. So
okay.
Their response, it was pretty rough.
Yeah.
But, okay.
It can be a little. You got to be careful.
But at 4 degrees, you don't expect much.
Yeah, and if you think today's cold, wait till tomorrow.
Right.
Yeah, tomorrow's low as 1.
It was -4 on the creek when I left the house.
-4. Yeah. Everything frozen over.
It is.
Yeah.
It's a mess.
Wow. Well, I tell you, I got up early this morning. I walked out of my door about...
What is that, 5 to 8?
No. I walked out of my door at 10 to 6 this morning thinking I was going to have to clean my car off. And I got a shout out to one of my neighbors. I don't know who did it, but somebody shoveled my walk.
No kidding.
And cleaned off my car at some point
Wow.
yesterday.
You have a good neighbor.
I got great neighbors. Thank you to whoever it was. I hope you're listening.
Are you in the city?
Yeah, I'm in the city. I live in the Gallery, which is the edge of city limits.
Stroville Town.
Stroville may have done it.
Yeah.
Chris Stroville, if you did it, you'd let us know, okay? Send us a text.
Do you really believe it was Chris Strobel?
No, not at all. Not even a little bit. No chance.
Yeah.
It could be his lovely wife, but not Chris.
We'll see.
She has that kind of kindness.
Yeah, she does.
Without a doubt.
Darren, let's talk about you as a senator now. Obviously, when it was time to replace Charlie Trump, the executive committee, the Republican Party, had to pick some names and determine among them who they would submit. I guess it's 3 names total. When did you make your interest known in that position?
Not until after the Senator Trump, or Justice Trump now, had stepped down.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'd thought about it for a while, and it was brought to me very early to put my name in, but I didn't make up that decision until later.
Mm-hmm. What about being in the Senate appealed to you versus being in the House?
I think, as being in the Senate, obviously you only have 34 senators, so I think that gives us a bigger voice. I can do more for my district, my county. That's basically it.
Mm-hmm.
So, some will ask me if it's about the power or whatever. I don't really care about power, and I know that the power doesn't bother me, but the power comes with it, and that's why you got a bigger voice, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
you're a businessman. You run a farm, deal a lot with poultry, right? That's been a tough business around the Mid-Atlantic lately. Have you been affected by the bird flu at all?
No. Biosecurity is the main thing. We have to do. Keep up biosecurity a little bit better this time of year. Stepping in bleach, making sure we have the right shoes when we go into our buildings. But it's basically a day-to-day, nothing different. Just try to make sure that we do the best security we can for our biosecurity.
When you say security, I imagine chickens walking the perimeter with M16s. Is that the type of security?
If I could get an M16 in a chicken's hands, I'd do it.
How many chickens do you have, Darren?
Well, right now, none. We're in between flocks.
Okay.
But when we're placed next Monday, we'll have 109,000 chickens.
109,000. Okay. Yeah.
And we're organic.
Yeah. Going back to the Senate, now you represent three counties. But you were selected from just Morgan and Hampshire County. Is that correct?
Correct, because you can't have the same. You can't have 2 senators in the same county.
And Tom Willis is in Berkeley County.
Correct.
Yeah. What are the needs for your district, Darren, when you think about what you represent, who you represent, and the geographical area?
Well, if we start over here, it's going to be a learning curve. But for over the last few years, since I've been paying more attention to Berkeley County, y'all's is infrastructure. We need. I come over here. I hate coming over here. The traffic's nuts.
Mm-hmm.
I get aggravated in Hampshire County with no traffic, and come over here, and the infrastructure is terrible. So I think that's probably a big issue over here. I don't want to say too much because I don't really know until I get out on the ground and see what people's are.
Areas you know better then.
excuse me,
Hampshire County, for instance.
Hampshire County, our biggest thing is jobs. We need to bring some jobs into our county. You know, when I was growing up, we had grocery stores, we had some sewing factory, we had the Kenny Shoe, we had things that gave a few jobs in the county. Now, when I was growing up, we had 11,000 people in the county versus 23 or so now. Mm-hmm. So it didn't take a whole lot of jobs, but we've lost all of that. And we're working on it. We've got a company supposedly coming in, hopefully start breaking ground soon, Aqua Bank, which is a shrimp farm. We're hoping that they get going here soon. That's a thing. And I'm always constantly working to look for different businesses to come into our county. But for us, that's a big thing for us.
How many jobs will Aqua Farm bring?
It's going in stages. So from what I understand, when it's finished, it could give 100 or so jobs, and of course then that spreads out. Mm-hmm. You know, those are direct, and then the indirect jobs could even go more with trucking and things like that.
Will they be grown in ponds or the old quarries, or what would they be grown in?
No, they'll actually be indoors, from what I understand.
Indoors.
It's going to be all inside. I don't really understand aquaculture too much. I've tried to read up on it, but and this is going to be new technology that we're really not doing in this country. It's big in Europe, from what I understand. So it's something that we're relatively, rookies at.
Now, my information is somewhat dated, but I'd worked on the edge of that for a few years, and I got most of the stock from China, and we had a real difficulty keeping the stock going from generation to generation. We'd have to go back because we'd have diseases wipe out all the shrimp, so I'd have to go back and repopulate from China. And again, that it may have improved a great deal from my experiences with it. So.
Yeah, I couldn't speak on. I don't know. I don't even know where you get the shrimp.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's not China.
There are a heck of a lot of farms in Hampshire County.
Yes.
I get down there a lot. I got a lot of clients down that way. I used to really enjoy eating at Mario's when the old guy owned Mario's, the old Italian guy. Gosh, he was hilarious. You know exactly who I'm talking
yes,
about. It's very agrarian there, and there is no traffic, which is beautiful. We have way too much traffic here, and we have a lot of issues here. One of our biggest issues here is, of course, teacher pay and state employee pay, which you guys hit a little bit. I mean, your cost of living, your real estate prices and stuff have risen over the past few years, just like they have everywhere. And y'all are at the edge of the Eastern Panhandle, so your property values have risen a lot more than they have in the middle of the state. So I'm sure y'all are starting to experience where it's hard to keep teachers, hard to get state workers to want to work in your county.
Yeah, we do. I don't. My wife's a school teacher, so I've been in this for 30 years. She's I think about 30 years she's been a school teacher. So I really don't believe, at least in my county. Now up here, it might be more. That could be the answer up here as far as the pay, but I don't think in Hampshire County our pay is the problem. We've got a lot of other problems in our as far as teachers go in our school system that needs to be cleaned up to try to keep teachers here. And I think that's everywhere, but locality pay, I'm good with locality pay. I think that would be a good thing, but it has to be all border counties.
All border counties. I mean, because I've got a friend of mine. She was teaching at Spring Mills, and she drives 7 minutes farther to Williamsport, Maryland, and makes $22,000 more a year, and that's just constant here.
But we can't. So we can never get our pay to the same as Maryland or Virginia. No. We don't have the industry. We don't have the tax base to be able to pay the same as we do across the river. So we have to be careful when we're talking about those things. Is we don't say, hey, we've got to do this. Well, I guess we could pay for it, but we're going to have to do it a different way, or we'll cut welfare. There's which I have no problem with that, but to get a little smarter with how we're and maybe take that money and put it towards education or whatever. But when we're talking about raising pay, we have to stay within our means too.
Yeah, when you when you raise pay not just for that year, but now that's for every year, and then every raise is on top of that.
Correct.
And that's got to be accounted for in the budget. So
Right.
you have to have a smart approach to how you do that. And people come to West Virginia for the lower taxes, and there's a trade-off for that.
Correct.
That also includes lower pay for state workers and fewer services.
Right.
If you want more services and higher pay for state employees, you have to go to an area where the taxes are higher in many cases. Now, Patrick Morrissey is saying, I'm going to try to combat that a little bit with more efficiency in government and how we spend. And Darren, you haven't been in all that long, but in your experience as a delegate and now as a senator, how do you identify areas of state government where you can be more efficient and maybe cut costs?
Well, I think that the new governor, Governor Morrissey spoke about consolidation, right? Making these departments smaller, and I think that's an excellent idea. I mean, no, that's not going to be very popular with the people that's getting their job cut, but that's how we have to run our government. So, the great thing I love about Donald Trump is he's a businessman and he runs the country like a business. And as far as myself, if right now. Our expenses in the farming has went through the roof. Yeah, people say, well, cattle prices are up, and I have to look at everything as a farmer, right? Mm-hmm. But cattle prices are up. But when the cattle prices are up and diesel fuel's 3 times as much as it was 5 years ago, I got a problem, right? Or seed or whatever feed costs. So we have to do that to the government too. We have to cut back when times are lean, and to make up that difference. And I think. Patrick Morrissey has the right idea. I think our government's bloated and way too big, and the bureaucracies are way too big, and we need to get them under control.
But you said consolidation. We've just recently done just the opposite of DHHR.
Well, actually, we cut it in half so we could control it and see more about what the business, where the money's going. That animal's so huge, it had to be split. It could be split again. And I think that there's probably going to, if I had a crystal ball, I would think that's probably the first place Patrick Morrissey is going to start looking, is to those big government entities like that to see if we can't make some major cuts in there. At least that's where I'd start.
Yeah. Going back to teachers just a second, you made a comment that the teacher locality pay, you'd be supportive of locality pay and teachers need more pay. But you also said that was not the main problems. They had other problems that's much more significant. What are they, please?
Okay, so my wife's always complaining. She's always fussing that the teachers unions and everybody, when they want a difference, they always throw out money. We can't always throw money at a problem. There's always other, money can't fix everything. So the problem in school is discipline, 100%. If we could cut discipline, when teachers sit back and they say, I cannot, I don't get paid enough to do this job. What they're talking about is they're not getting paid enough to get beat up and bruised up and kicked and spit, and then the parents come in and blame the teacher. That's what they're not getting paid enough to do. I think we have excellent teachers in this state overall, and we subject them to abuse. That's the problem. It's not that they're not making $100,000 a year. It's that they're being abused, and we're not paying attention to it. We just had, not this past interim in Charleston, the one before, we had some principals and teachers from Kanawha County come in and tell their story and tell how they was getting kicked and beat and abused by the students, and there was nothing they could do about it, right? Nobody from the Department of Education, the State Department of Education, nobody showed up to that meeting. They're at every meeting, every interim meeting, they're there. They didn't want to hear it.
Now, Senator Amy Grady is taking on this school discipline. Are you on board with what she's trying to do?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we do it in society too, outside of school too, right? We don't hold anybody accountable to what they're doing. Nobody. I mean, our previous administration allowed just pardoned murderers off of death row. Now, how in the world do we do stuff like that? And it's trickled all the way down to our education. Why don't we get back to educating instead of indoctrinating? right? That's where I want to get. I want kids to understand how to read, write, and do math. I don't care about their DEI and their, you know, I could go on for hours about this.
Yeah, you do have 1 hour.
I
You
mean,
have to cut yourself at one, though. Senator Darren Thorne is our guest here on the program. He was recently appointed to that seat out of the House of Delegates to replace Justice Charles Trump, who was at that time Senator Charles Trump. Let's talk about the discipline issue, because I know that the legislature, including your time while you were in the House of Delegates, has tried to tackle this discipline issue in the classrooms, and it is a serious issue. We did a segment yesterday with special education and the disciplinary problems that are involved in that department. Give me an idea of a way to deal with discipline issues in the classroom that would pass legal muster. When we were kids, it was easy. If you misbehaved in the classroom, they grabbed you by the back of your hair and they yanked you out, and you went into the principal's office. I went to Catholic school, and they paddled, you know. But you can't do that anymore, right? So how do you deal with students and support the teachers who are trying to deal with disruptive students? I got a report yesterday of 2 teachers who were suspended, not in Berkeley County schools, suspended for putting hands on students who were involved in a fight and disrupting classrooms and such. The teachers got suspended. We got to do a better job of backing the teachers. But what is your solution to the disciplinary problems in the classroom specifically?
Well, I believe we need to go back to that old way. You know, I don't know that it ever will, but that's what we got to do. And something, you know, so this is going to be very controversial. Mm-hmm. So communities in schools is, you know, they're a magic trick. They're sitting over here giving toothbrushes and toothpaste to kids. So then you got that legislature to pass $10 million budget to go to them, right? But then over here, they got their social workers telling their kids that they don't have to be good because that's who they are. They're expressing themselves. So that's a problem. And then we've got our federal, I would guess our U.S. Department of Education that puts down the rules that where the states can't do their own discipline or their own ideas. So
or they risk losing federal money.
Or they risk losing their federal aid, right? So I hope Trump also comes good on his word with getting rid of the Department of Education. If he does that, that gives us a lot more power in our state that we could go back to the paddling if we so choose, right? I'm not saying that would happen, but we could. And then we've got to get parents to understand that and take the responsibility, but we've taken that responsibility away from the parents. The parents is the problem, but they learned it when they went to school. See, so we're reaping what we sow.
We've got a vicious cycle going on of, I mean, when we were young, if you got in trouble, you got sent to the principal's office. You knew it was going to be a lot worse when you got home.
Yep.
And now you've got, you know, the parents come into the principal's office and they're yelling at the principal, why are you mad at my kid? My kid didn't do this.
Yep.
I mean, it's a total breakdown. It's a breakdown of the American family has caused most of this.
And it's all about politics and power. So I'll give you a story about my son, right? I've got a boy that he's 28 years old now, and he helps, you know, he farms with me. But when he was in, I believe it was junior high, he had a teacher. She was elderly, and he was jumping off the back of the chair to turn a TV on or up or something. I don't know what it was, but he was a boy. He was doing dumb things. Mm-hmm. So, okay, well, that's fine. We'll take care of that. But they brought me into on a teacher-parent conversation, and they weren't willing to do anything. And I didn't understand that. It was like, look, when I get him home, I want to whip him. I said, I don't know what you want me to do. If I can't be here and sit beside him every day. You all don't want to discipline him, don't call me. I didn't understand where we were going to go with that. I mean, and she just kept on and kept on and kept on. I just looked at her. I said, what do you want me to do, kill him? I mean, and that just drives them nuts when you say stuff like, but what can we do?
There's no consequences in his school for misbehaving?
There was no consequence, right? And I couldn't understand that. I said, I'll sign a paper today allowing you to whip him. I don't care. They wouldn't do it. So I said, don't call me no more. I mean, he's going to be a boy. He's not stealing. He's not smoking dope out in the backyard. He was just being a boy.
Mm-hmm.
But disciplining. I'm not saying not disciplining.
And they don't. I mean,
no.
They don't suspend. They don't separate.
No.
They don't. I mean, it's.
And we don't prosecute. So in our county, we just had a kid get caught with, well, he's 19 years old in high school, just got caught with a vape with THC in it. Nothing. Didn't do anything. It's illegal. Makes no sense. And we've got to start making it hurt.
Accountability.
Accountability.
Senator Darren Thorne is our guest. He's going to hang out with us another half hour here.
Friends just texted, whip the kids. It's better to err on the side of too much discipline in school than not enough discipline. And I'm not advocating whipping kids in school.
I think you just did, though.
But
You said whip the kids.
Yeah, but my friend said whip them all. But what I'm advocating is it's better to have too much discipline than not enough. It's better to err on the side of them learning a little bit more and learning a healthy respect for authority than just the opposite.
I know there are probably a lot of teachers who don't want that because of the liability issues. There's a fine line between whipping and assaulting.
Well, I'm not talking about whipping like literally. I'm talking about if a kid is bad, you should be able to send him out of your classroom.
I don't disagree with that at all.
Yeah, now we're talking about whipping or paddling. That's the state's rights. It is not controlled by the federal government to prohibit it. It's individual states. There's 17 states that allow a child to be whipped in school.
Hey,
Really?
I survived it.
Why are we not? Yeah, I did. I'm
And
a
we're-
product.
and we're
I'm
not
a
one.
product of Catholic schools. I survived it. Yeah, I'm better for it. I've got a healthy dose of I respect authority.
We
You have to.
have many times we have said that you ought to see the show in between during the commercial breaks, and Senator Thorne, our guest for this first hour, got exposed to it as well as Bill and John debated back and forth for the entire 4-minute commercial break about different issues there, which is interesting.
Always.
Yeah, and always, yeah.
By the way, a couple questions for you from our audience, Senator Thorne. One of those questions is from Brad Knoll. He said, Senator Thorne now represents me since he is the 15th district. How do people get in touch with him? And will he be holding any public meetings in any county in the 15th district going forward? Darren?
As far as getting a hold of me, my information should be on the Senate, legislative.com or West Virginia legislature.com. So all that information ought to be there. My phone number, email.
Yeah, Darren.Thorne, that's Darren, Darren, .Thorne, THORNE, at wvsenate.gov, by the way.
I got a question from the first segment for you, Darren.
If I could go back
yeah.
to make sure I answer his question, and yes, I do plan on having some forums or public meetings throughout the year. I try to do that several times when I was a delegate, and I'll continue that.
Your buddy Delegate Chuck Horst said Darren has asked me to include him in any town halls I hold.
Yes.
So
yes.
you guys may be tandeming on that one.
I like that.
Go ahead, John.
109,000 chickens. I mean, that number, I wrote that down in the first segment. So are you one of the larger chicken farms in Hampshire County?
No, well, no. We're all about equal. Now, Hardy County's got some massive chickens.
Oh, you go by that someday, and we do a lot of work in Moorfield. Some days you go by the chicken plant, and that smells unbelievable. Other days you don't even notice it.
Right.
You drive down the road, and every other farm in Hardy County or every other place has a pilgrim sign out front.
Right. Now, when we grew for pilgrims, we would have about 175,000 chickens in a barn, or within the 3 barns that we've got. Yeah, and now we're at 109,000. Since we went to farmer focused organic.
That's a lot of chicken. Now, and just briefly, I know we're here to talk politics and everything, but I'm really curious. From start to finish, you get the chickens. When are they ready to go?
47 days. 47 days. We get them as chicks, little chicks,
Okay.
little yellow chicks, and they grow to about 7.5 pounds in 47 days.
So how many times a year do you get a new batch in?
We're about 5.5 to 6.
That's, I mean,
That's-
I'm sorry, I'm fascinated by
fine.
business and any type of business.
Yeah.
So you said the fuel prices have really affected you. What else has adversely affected you in the last few years?
Fuel's our main and feed. Now that we've went to, feed prices is up, fuel prices is up, just to buy your normal maintenance items, whatever, oil filters, everything has skyrocketed.
How many people do you have to employ to service 109,000 chickens?
Me, my son, and my son's father-in-law.
That's a
great.
lean operation there.
That is, you're running it lean. Yes.
That's a lean operation.
And I, since I've gotten into politics, I'm not at the chickens very often. I mostly take care of the cattle, but it's just the two of them mostly.
Is a chicken feed grown in the U.S. or is some of it imported?
Most of it, from what I understand, comes out of the U.S. So we get our feed from Kallenbach out of Pennsylvania.
Is it corn base or grain base?
Yeah, grain based.
Grain
Yeah.
base.
Any other questions on chickens, gentlemen?
No, I just find it fascinating because I'm in those counties all the time, and I don't know anything about how the business runs. That's fascinating.
You will you're the vice chair of the agricultural subcommittee. Is that how that works?
Correct.
Darren, are there any other committees you're aware of you'll be on?
So yeah. So, and the House has made agriculture and all these subcommittees. We're still
Not in the Senate, though.
right? Not in the Senate. We haven't changed anything, so it's still a minor, they call it. Anyhow, yes, I'm on finance, GovOrg, pensions, workforce development, ag. I have a
good
brain
start.
cramp, but yeah.
Hey, I want to stay on ag for a second and talk about our ag commissioner, Kent Leonhardt. I think I'm not a farmer, but from what I have observed, it seems to me like Kent's doing a pretty good job. He keeps getting reelected. When people run against him, this is obviously not unusual. They point out some faults with the Department of Agriculture. Some have said the department is not as responsive as it needs to be. What's been your observations as a person who obviously deals with them?
Man, I deal with them about every day.
Mm-hmm.
I have never been pushed off by Commissioner Leonhardt or Laura Walker, his attorney or counsel, Joe, Norm. They're all very good.
Mm-hmm.
I've never had a problem with them. I have heard that too, but now as I've never dealt with them before I was in legislature either. So as far as that goes. To be honest, but I can't see it. I think they try to do the best they can.
Is there anything else the state can be doing on behalf of farmers in West Virginia?
Well, there's a lot.
Tell us a few.
Well, so I think that we need to. I think we touched on this the last time I was here. I think we miss a good opportunity for the state of West Virginia to be more agricultural based, right? So we have an opportunity to grow our agricultural industry, and we don't do it. And we have counties like Greenbrier County, Hardy County, Hampshire County, these large, those are the three largest counties for agriculture in the state. And we could do more with economic development to bring jobs, bring more tax revenue into this state. As far as just helping farmers, getting out of our way. Farmers don't want to, they don't really want government handouts. They just want the regulation to go away. Just get out of our way, and we can make the money if we had a fair playing field. But a lot of that comes down from the federal government, USDA and those people there. But we passed a $10 million funding bill for the drought this year from the state. The federal government gave several $1 million. We did $10 million. That was a hard lift. And I had to really push hard to get those done and get heard in the House Finance and the Senate, But we got it through. We got to $10 million, and $10 million is a start. That helps, but it was a Band-Aid basically. But we can, again, there are certain times that we need that help. we can't afford our farmers to go out of business. And these kinds of droughts could absolutely do that.
Yeah, last summer was pretty difficult. Now, we're getting a lot of snow this winter,
Right.
and that works overtime.
It helps, yes.
Right. Yeah. So you mentioned about the burdensome regulations, some of which are federal and maybe some are state, I'm not sure. What other types of regulations prevent you from doing your job as a farmer or other farmers their complaints?
Well, let's go to something that would help us as a state. So let's slaughter, right? We should be able to take meat across state lines. We right now, as the state of West Virginia, we have an agreement signed that we can do our own meat inspections, but we can't sell across state line without USDA approval. But we have to meet or exceed their regulations, right? So it's not an easier process. We have to meet or exceed it, but we still can't go across state lines without hiring them to come into our state and do this.
But that's a federal regulation.
That's a federal regulation. Now the state has entered an agreement that we can do our own again, but we have to stay within our boundaries of the state of West Virginia to sell that meat. So it really doesn't make any sense, right? If we're doing as good a job as they are or better, we should be able to go anywhere we want to in the country.
Well, yeah, but we have several examples in years past. Hoof and mouth disease is one that is literally wiped out.
But that has nothing to do with slaughter.
It moves them to slaughterhouses.
Well, right, but that's not what we're trying to do here. I'm not.
Well, my point is, Darren, I'm trying to understand exactly what you want. I get the impression you want no regulations, but you want subsidies. You won't be bailed out in time.
No, I don't want your subsidy either. I just want you to get out of my way. If you get out of my way and let me sell my beef anywhere I want to, I don't need your subsidies because we'll make enough money.
But in times of drought or severe,
maybe if the government wasn't in my way, I could have some money set aside. I don't need to worry about the drought at that point either.
So you can get more money. You can get more money taking your beef across the border into Virginia than you can selling it West Virginia.
I'm not sure that maybe not more money per pound, but I have more of a market, right? So we can sell that market, a larger market. So we can sell more beef. But we have no slaughter facilities in the state of West Virginia either. Very few, not enough to do the things that we really need to do to make our market come up. I don't want the government in my way. The government doesn't. The government has a duty to make sure that people are safe. I have no problem with that. But we don't. So we have an offside. Brazil is the largest beef producer in the world. They control the price market in this country. 80% of their beef is contract. So when you start contracting that out, that holds their prices down. 20% of their beef that they buy is at a sale barn. Well, they control that market. We are at the lowest beef producing today than we have been since the 1950s or something.
And that's because of what?
That's because of regulation and offset trade, a lopsided trade.
The Brazilian beef market controls.
Brazilian, China, yeah, everybody.
Is that why the price of steak and obviously everything's gone up the past few years. We all know that, but the price of hamburger, wow.
Yeah, everything's gone up again, but my prices haven't went up. I don't get paid for what I'm doing. You know, we're still getting okay.
Well, where does the markup occur? You sell your beef to slaughter. Where does the markup occur then down the line? If you're getting the same that you were getting years ago.
So it's by the packers, which is JBS, and at the supermarket. So trucking, everything is intertwined together there. But yeah, the markup goes from us. We're just now hitting the $3 mark for a 3-weight calf. And so 300-pound calf ain't even really weaning, but we're not making our prices has finally got to a point where we can make a little bit of money off of the beef industry, but the fuel price, like we talked earlier, the fuel prices,
mm-hmm.
the
feed
prices, just the oil prices, just to change the oil in your tractor or whatever. All that stuff has went up so much that it's really
who controls what price you can get for your beef?
So I can sell it to you if you're willing to pay for it. If I'm killing it or having it slaughtered and selling it to you, and I can get $10 a pound out of it, wonderful, right?
You mean me individually?
You individually,
right.
I can do that. But most farmers don't have that market that we can go out to sell to food line. So the control is at the sale barn. So the sale barns are only going to pay so much when they come in there and buy. You got JBS or whoever coming in and buying truckloads of cattle. That's how they control the market.
But if you sold directly to Rob, would your beef be inspected?
It is. It's
inspected. Right.
The only way I can do a custom inspection, which is no inspection basically, is to kill it and eat it myself.
Okay.
But that's what I was getting at with the state inspection. I can sell it to Rob without the USDA's inspection, but I can't sell outside the state. And it's the same inspection. So tell me why.
Is your story similar to if I got another beef farmer the other end of the state, would he have the same story you do?
Yes.
Is he selling at the same house that you are? Same barn?
Depending on what part of the state. I sell mostly in Virginia, Winchester.
Okay.
We got Moorfield has a sale barn. I think they told me the other day there's 8 in the state now.
Okay.
All.
And in West Virginia, there's nothing regulatory wise that can be that you can do as a lawmaker to change any of that. It's all
no,
federal?
we just have to make sure that we're not over-regulating our own in the state of West Virginia through the state, which I don't believe that we're at this moment. Like we just got rid of, Mike Hornby just got rid of, it was his bill last year. We took the regulation off of raw milk, right? So things like that helps the farmers.
Yeah, I do not mean to be defensive and supporting the feds in here, but I do remember Georgia, I believe it's Georgia, that had very lax inspection a few years ago. As a consequence, the meat coming out of Georgia, or within Georgia, I guess, was bad meat, and several people got sick.
Okay, so here just a month or so ago, we had to recall some produce, if I remember right, with salmonella, and that's federally inspected. So it's going to happen. There's no perfect system. So, and another thing is we got meat coming in from China, Brazil, whatever. Well, our hog market in this country right now is owned by China.
How so?
They own most of the hog production.
They've literally bought up the hog production in America.
Correct. So think about that a minute. They get mad at us. They cut our hog market off. We're done. We have no more hog.
But now that was not a consequence of federal regulation. That was a consequence of somebody selling to the highest bidder, and the highest bidder in this case was China.
I agree, but we shouldn't be selling land or businesses to our adversaries that are of a great threat to our security.
I don't disagree with that at all.
I don't either.
Yeah, I think we all.
Yeah, I mean, those are things we got to pay attention to.
What, 360,000 farmland acres they own? I read that yesterday. 380,000.
Yep.
Okay.
So that's concerning in its own, because again, Brazil, right today they're a friend, but what about tomorrow? And like, what I was getting at that point was, we bring in meat that's fresh, it's not packaged, and then once we bring it in and we package it, we put an American flag on it and call it American meat. Yeah. That's not American meat.
Yeah, we don't have a lot of time left. What, as a new senator, what bill would you like to see pushed?
Well, speaking on this, I'll be reintroducing this year, not selling any West Virginia farmland or any land to foreign adversaries. Okay. I've also got a bill that I'm going to be putting forward that will make sure that we do not allow anybody that's not from the state sitting on any county commission or committees or these boards that make decisions for the rest of us, right? We've got a couple of those in the state. Hampshire County was one of them. They're not anymore, but they used to. And Hardy County's got somebody sitting on the planning commission, from what I understand, from Virginia.
How is that
West
possible?
Virginians, there's no rules says they can't. So that's what I'm going to try to fix that. We had a big problem with that a couple of years ago in ag in Hardy County.
I didn't know that. I thought if you were on a planning commission from a county, you had to be a resident of the county.
The planning, no, right. Planning commission, economic development, all those can be from as far as right now.
I learned something new.
Yeah,
Let me
going back to a discussion with capital punishment earlier, you felt very strongly about this. Would you consider introducing a bill that would allow capital punishment or paddling?
Corporal punishment.
I'm sorry. No, you're
I don't wanna
exactly
hang
right.
anybody.
No. You're exactly my apologies, my mistake. But paddling of the students,
Yes.
would you introduce that?
I would.
Yeah.
Yes.
There were some students I went to school with I would have been okay with capital punishment.
Yeah, that was a horrible mistake on my part. So
I kind of liked it, though, actually, for some of the kids I knew
Public
at school.
service announcement. Nobody in this studio is in favor of capital punishment for children.
yeah, you're exactly right.
If I could go back in time when I was a kid, though, I'm just saying. Yeah.
Let me go to what we talked about earlier. Your county had 11,000 people. 25 years ago, you have 23,000 now.
Well, 25 years ago, when I was growing, I wish I was only 25 years old.
You're
or
probably
20,
about my age,
I'm
yeah.
54, so in
I'm
the 70s and
56.
80s,
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
and when I got here in 96, there were 50,000. We have 140,000 now. What type of bill do you think, or what do you think the state needs to do to attract more businesses to the state, to create more jobs, to be able to build our population base, to be able to build our tax base, to be able to provide more services for our people?
Well, I think we're doing well. I have to say our last administration, if I have anything good to say about that one, is bringing in cutting our taxes, making it more business friendly. I think that's the key here. But we also have to take some responsibility as a county. I believe I don't want to take any power away from the county. The county can do what they want, but I think a big problem over here might be zoning, right? And I've been talking to our county commissioners and planning commissioners over in Hampshire County to make sure that we don't have the wild, wild west in growth. Uncontrolled growth is not a good thing in any business or anything. So I think we need to think about these things and maybe be able to control it a little better, so we're not growing too fast. I'm not saying I'm not for no growth. I'm just saying let's control the growth.
Are you supportive of home rule for the counties?
I am. I think I am. Yes. Mm-hmm. So if I can have a FAR levy or a school bond and a vote on that, it's no different, right? Yeah. So that 1% tax, the people have that decision. As long as the people have the decision, I'm okay with that.
With a referendum, yes.
Correct.
Yeah. Would you put a condition of the county commissioners' terms being changed from 6 years to 4 years as part of that, or are you not concerned about the 6-year term, Darren?
It doesn't concern me. It hasn't hurt our county any at all. It would be something that I could, I'm always, there's only a few things that I say never on. That's something that I could have that conversation with.
All right. Finance Committee, there have been tax cuts passed. We exceeded because of the governor's insistence, we went over the trigger for an additional tax cut last year with Governor Justice. So Patrick Morrissey, the new governor, released a statement that there was now a shortfall of money, or money he needed to find in order to support some of the increasing programs like the Hope Scholarship Program over the years that kicks in further. Did we overcut on the tax cuts, Darren?
Well, I was worried about that last year, and we're all guilty for voting for that, right? But I have had my concerns then. I still have my concerns, but I want to make something clear. Hope Scholarship does not take out of the budget. We already give that $180 million to the school system anyway. That money is only following that child. So we're not taking out anything extra to do that. And actually, if you really sit back and think about it, you would think that there's $6,000 that student, I think it's right around $11,000 per student in the state. So there's an extra $6,000 when that kid comes out of that school system that is left in the budget that can go to other kids. So that I don't like that argument when people say, well, it's going to cost us $180 million. No, it's that $5,000 is following that student, and that's it. The federal aid and all that stuff that the county, all that comes down, stays within that school system.
It is some of your fellow elected officials who have made that argument, though, about the money.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, thanks for making the drive, man.
Oh, no problem. I enjoyed it. Thank you all for inviting me.
Do you have any other meetings in the area today, or are you headed back?
I'm headed back.
Be safe.
Thank you.
That includes on the front step outside, by the way. Hornby doesn't need any lawsuits.
I'll send him a bill.
He's got to put out the welcome mat. He's got 109,000 chickens coming next week.
I do like chicken.